The bigger chunk, 47, is in the Kashmir Valley, which has arguably experienced the most competitive election that we've seen since 1977. So Kashmir Valley is where we turn our attention to now.
Before we put out the numbers for the Kashmir Valley, I want you to pause and think for a moment. In past elections in Kashmir, 10 years ago and before that, there was so much talk about poll boycotts, separatists, the role of Pakistan, the fact that voters weren't enthusiastic about voting. This time, wherever we traveled, whether it was Baramulla, whether it was Shopur, Kulgam, Anantnag, people were enthusiastic about voting. It's not as if they were in love with what the government was doing. They wanted to ensure that their voice was heard. And that, Rajdeep, by itself. Because when I came back, and I must tell our viewers this, when I came back from covering Jammu and Kashmir during the Lok Sabha election, Rajdeep said, ye Modi ke fans hai, aise bol rahe. And I said, no, there is actually a new Kashmir that is visible. Shops were open. And when we said that, take for example, Lal Chowk open till 9, 10 o'clock, Rajdeep said very loudly at that time, well, Lal Chowk doesn't mean anything, go out. You traveled outside Lal Chowk and other places. Law and order is substantially better. People are enthusiastic about voting. They're saying they've made more in the last 3 years in terms of money than they have in the last 30. So before we put out the numbers for the Kashmir Valley, Rajdeep, just reflect for a moment on what India as a country has been able to achieve.
I think what we have to look at the Kashmir election as is a success in terms of ensuring voter participation, which is a huge achievement from the government. Where I think the government has, and I think the numbers will also show that, is when you downsize a state from a state to a union territory, somewhere the residue of anger or discontent remains. And as one experienced Kashmiri watcher put it to me, votes have become our new stones. That we will express our disaffection, our alienation, our anger, our support through votes,
but
which
is
good.
A good thing.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Whichever way you want.
Which is
much better than flinging stones.
1 minute.
No, Rajdeep, because it's not only voter participation which is the big achievement. The fact that law and order is substantially better, the fact that tourism is booming, the fact that that state has better development and infrastructure now are big achievements as well.
Which is why I said the final piece, because I think the numbers will matter in the end. If all of this has happened, if all of what you're saying has happened, and I do not deny a substantial part of what you say has happened, then the BJP should be party number 1 or party number 2 of the valley.
Why should it be number 1 or 2?
Because
they haven't even fought. They only fought in 19 out of the 47 seats.
Rahul, the fact is, let us see, even in those 19 seats, I think the challenge, and this is the challenge.
That's like sending an absurd bar. That you have to beat, you have to run 100 meters in less than 9 seconds only, then we believe that you're a sprinter.
Politics is complex. Voter participation is something to be supported in the valley, and it's a very, not just voter participation, the competitive nature. Imagine the Jamaat which has boycotted elections in the past, which has led boycotts, part of the Hurriyat, has got independent candidates contesting on the Jamaat.
It has everything to do, unfortunately, with the 1987 experience of the valley. It's going way back far, but I remember 20 years back when we were doing the first ever poll in Kashmir, the memories of 87 election was so fresh in Kashmiri minds that 82% at that point of time people said in the valley the polls will be rigged. They do not believe the system.
Sure, and now not one person has said anything about the poll not being free and fair.
Not a single person has said anything about the process being rigged or anything.
Listen, I never said what you said.
No, you kept saying that this is overstated. After the Lok Sabha election, I remember our conversation. You kept saying that this is overstated. None of this has happened. That you guys are just projecting things not to be the way they are.
We have to make a distinction.
Yes.
The distinction is, very clearly, it is a success for the government to have what is a relatively free, fair and an extremely competitive election in Jammu and Kashmir. I still believe though, and I believe the numbers will reflect that, when you downsize the state from a state to a union territory, there is an element of residue of anger, discontent, which is not going to be resolved by an election, which is going to have to be resolved by ensuring that the people of Jammu and Kashmir get statehood, as Home Minister Amit Shah has promised. And I think somewhere, a point I made when we discussed Jammu, somewhere we are going to have to find bridge builders. The challenge of Jammu and Kashmir is who is that individual who can carry the same weight or a proportionate weight in Jammu and in the valley. Because, as is being said, we are seeing two states. Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
When was the last time that someone was able to build the bridge? It's taken a long time. Very difficult.
But if all is well in the valley, then technically before we go into the numbers, the Jamaat should be not getting any votes because there is no separatist sentiment there. If they are going to be doing well, then there is what you pointed out, that votes have become your new stones.
Yes.
Then if the Jamaat is going to do well and the candidates put forward there...
But let's find out if they're doing well.
Very quickly, since my friend Rahul Kanwal tried to suggest that...
You did. I remember all that. I was quite hurt by what everything Rajdeep said. When I came back and we ran the show that we did, Rajdeep said it's all exaggeration.
That's not true.
It's not
That's not true. I disagree, but let me just point out one simple fact.
Yes.
And a hard fact. Who won the South Kashmir seat? Oh, who won the North Kashmir seat?
Baramulla.
The Baramulla seat was won by Engineer Rashid, sitting in jail under UAPA, defeating Omar Abdullah, who was the star candidate with whom you went and did Jab We Met. Sajjad Lone, star candidate, you did Jab We Met. Nobody thought of Engineer Rashid at that time or Abrar Rashid. Let's be honest now. Someone in jail, and what was his slogan? Tihar ka badla vote se. Jail ka badla vote se. My point is, Rahul, when we look at Jammu and Kashmir, we have to see it as extremely complex from most other parts of the country. Lots of currents and cross currents. And it's challenging for any party. Today for the BJP, which deserves credit for some of the things they have done. And I think questions over, as was rightly put, what were the mistakes we made over the last 50 years, which have allowed some of this discontent to manifest itself.
We've done 9 minutes without giving the data. A lot of messages coming with data. So let's just get to it. For the Kashmir Valley, here are the vote share numbers. Before that, I'll just take you through the methodology. 20,013 is the total sample size for Jammu and Kashmir. Out of this, a large part, about 13,437 are face-to-face, 6,576 are CATI telephonic numbers. This is as far as the composition of the sample is concerned. Let's take you through the data for the Kashmir Valley. So I'll take you through the vote shares first. The BJP is projected to pick up about 3% of the vote in Kashmir. It was 2.2% last time, so that's up about 0.8%. The India bloc was at 42% in the last elections. They're expected to come down to 41.1%. That's a drop of about 0.9%. The biggest change, according to Sea Voters numbers, is that the PDP, which was 37.4% of the vote in the last 2014 assembly elections, is now projected to crash to 16.6%. That's 20.8% down. The PDP crashing is to the immediate gain of the others, who've gone up from 18.4 to 39.3, just 2% less than the India bloc itself. So that's the big change. The crash, Yashwant Deshmukh of the PDP, and the surge in the votes of the others. But the thing is, the others are not one faction. They're made up of lots of disparate components.
And there is a significant chunk of votes with Sajjad Lone's party. In data, roughly in good contest in actually 4 seats, but probably going to win 2, PDP is, of course, the situation there. They have lost a lot of vote, basically, to... The swing is not from PDP to, by the way, National Conference. Swing is from PDP to others. That is a very significant movement.
But that's not PDP, though, actually.
Yeah, so let's look at the seat number, because then I will try and make the point that we were disputing. Just take a look at the seats. The votes we've seen, and I think the votes reflect a story in itself, but look at the seats. When we now look at the current projection of the seats, Rahul, National Conference plus Congress is 29 to 33. So halfway mark becomes 31. BJP is 0 to 1. If they get 1, that in itself will be a huge achievement, because that would have broken the duck. We'll have to see.
They are on contest on 3 seats, as I mentioned before going to the break.
Okay.
They are in good contest in 3 seats.
Okay, and mainly in the higher reaches. PDP 6 to 10. That's down from 25. So the biggest hit at the moment in the valley is being taken by the PDP, which of course came to power in 2014. Others 6 to 10. And it will be interesting from Yashwant to see who those others are, whether it is the AIP of Engineer Rashid, whether it is other smaller independents who may have won a few seats. So we'll have to see who those others are, because they could make a big difference in the final tally. But as you are seeing now, look at it. In the Kashmir, in Jammu, BJP was about 29 to 32, and here NC is 29 to 33.
So the BJP will disagree very strongly with this poll, because their calculation is that the NC will, and the Congress will not be between 29 and 33, that the others will be much more. So what Yashwant's poll does is it basically says that yes, the vote share of the Awami Ittehad Party, the vote share of the People's Conference, the vote share of the DPAP, etc. have gone up. But because of the fragmented nature of the contest, this hasn't converted into seats. That NC Congress is the principal beneficiary in a very fragmented election.
No, and more than that, just half a second. Just half a second and then you can come in. The numbers, Shehzad, show NC plus Congress as of now, as per our exit poll, 40 to 48. Halfway mark is 45.
That's right.
BJP 27 to 32.
Right.
You've got PDP 6 to 12, so they are 9 as their halfway mark. Others 6 to 11. What it suggests, Rahul, is if the higher end of Yashwant's poll is there, then the Congress NC gets a majority. If it's midpoint, they will need the support either of independents or PDP. And the battle within a battle, which is NC and BJP, who becomes party number 1, is very close. As of his poll, NC is, just a minute, marginally higher at about 33, and the BJP is about 29.
Give the party-wise breakup.
Just marginally, it's 33 for National Congress, National Conference, and 29 for the BJP in that.
But very close.
Very close. Very
yes,
close.
now
there is a big number of marginal seats at play, which is actually in the Jammu region, the marginals are between the BJP and the Congress.
No.
And while in the Valley region, the marginals are between National Conference and the PDP.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, Rajdeep, and I hope I'll get my full say. My limited point is that no longer can any party claim to be a pan-Jammu Kashmir party. If the BJP with 29 to 30, and it could very well be that we are 31, 32, 33, and NC is 29, it could very well be that. So there might be a situation, Rajdeep, that the Jammu Kashmir might see BJP as the single largest party, something that nobody in their imagination would have thought in the last 65 years. And therefore, I think, Rajdeep, what we often miss is that, we call this that one more, partly fair election. This is not a partly fair election, Rajdeep. The fact is that for the first time in the guliyas jahan goliyan chal rahi thi, Sachin Tendulkar was playing cricket. For the first time, ताजिया चल रहे थे शिया के श्रीनगर की सड़कों पर. For the first time, माँ शारदा के मंदिर में घंटे बजे. For the first time, Rahul Gandhi, whose family could not go there, and Sushil Kumar Shinde could not go there, were playing with barf ka gola, not with bum ka gola. So I think a lot has changed. It's not just a minor change. The entire perception has changed. The entire conviction towards democracy has changed. We should celebrate that.
Okay, so what? Good point, Saul. How does these numbers affect, at the end of the day, government formation? Does this mean, and I throw it open to anyone, does this mean that Mehbooba Mufti, who's taking the biggest hit in terms of seats lost, 25 down to 9 halfway mark, and is a part of India Alliance, was a part of India Alliance, does she decide who forms the next government if his numbers hold? Do you believe that she now holds the cards, or do the independents hold the cards?
There's a problem with that. If NC and PDP ally, on the ground, their cadre are often at loggerheads. Right? I mean, recently democracy itself has been suspended, so it's a different matter, but typically that's where the contest is. So if she allies, potentially she opens the door for someone like an Engineer Rashid in a longer term to build up his party.
But I spoke to Engineer Rashid. He made it very clear. You see, he is an X factor. He has less to lose in this election, everything to gain in terms of he's the new factor. Mehbooba Mufti is fighting for relevance. You see, she cannot afford not to have some say in the future, otherwise her party will break even further. A number of her leaders have already left. My limited point, I'm asking all of you around the table, if these numbers hold, we've seen it in Maharashtra, Shiv Sena, Congress, NCP coming together, and there they weren't even part of an alliance at that time. Mehbooba Mufti is even today part of the India Alliance. They may not have fought the election together. Does she come together with them at these numbers? Also, or do they rely on independents? Or does the BJP keep the assembly in suspended animation till someone comes up with 50?
With these numbers, is there any option, Amitabh Tiwari, apart from an NC plus Congress plus whoever comes on board in his required government?
See, if these numbers hold true, there are only three possibilities, 40, 44 or 48. 48 is simple majority. 44 is just 2 seats short of majority. They can manage through independents. PDP is not required. Only if the NC alliance number is 40 at the lower end of the range, then the PDP comes into picture because they will have some 6 to 8 seats. And how has PDP grown? When PDP came for the first time in elections, they had just 9% vote share. They have grown at the expense of others. 30%, others fell to 15%. And that is what is happening now.
So now
the others are gaining at the expense of
So where
PDP.
does
The
this
pendulum
leave-
is going
no,
back
but
to the
where
other
does this
side,
leave? Where does this leave Rajat Sethi BJP? Because Shehzad makes a point, which is fair enough, that the BJP could well be in a situation, given the of being the single largest party,
Right.
but
So
in no position as per these numbers to form a government. Would I be right in saying that, or would the BJP do what they did 10 years ago and tell the NC, forget the Congress, come with us, we'll give you statehood?
Look at where BJP started 1 month before this election. They were pushed against the wall. There was like all kinds of stories and narratives that were all going against it, and you all covered it. I think the media was full of such stories that BJP doesn't have even relevance left in Jammu also, to a good extent. It was said that they might just end up getting 18 to 20 seats and nothing more than that. BJP, I think, was successful in building up a strong challenge through its Jammu upsurge, and then ensure that the fragmentation happens through there. And others,
But where does this leave the BJP?
See, others,
Even
by
as
the way,
single largest
others,
party,
again,
Rajesh,
I will go back to what
Forget about BJP.
Yashwantji has said.
Rajat, I will just add to your point.
41 and 39% vote share. Just look at that vote share. The texture of that vote share is just too close. BJP, in its strategy at least, they can go away with a moral victory that they became the number one party. That's it.
Rajat, my
Maybe they
question
will
is,
not be able to
Rajat,
win.
my question is, forget about BJP MC. Where does this leave Jammu as a region? Because the problem with Jammu and Kashmir for historically 75 years is Jammu and Ladakh earlier were out of the power equation because of the simple fact that valley dominated. Now, one may very well celebrate this is a democratic success, and if these numbers hold true and a national conference makes the government and with the PDP comes into the play, does that not mean that just the other way around, that this arrangement is going to disfranchise the Jammu mandate? Is there really anything to celebrate about if only one region gets to govern, or something which we say it is improbable politically, but is it not correct that it remains one state in India where there is no other way but two political extremes trying to come together and form the government together in order to respect the mandate. The fact is neither National Conference nor the BJP are getting the full mandate of just like Shahzad.
But which is why I'm asking you the question. Just a minute. Sir, just a minute. No, Shahzad bhai, 1 minute. In 2014, this is exactly what happened after the election. Two extremes came together. Mufti Mohammad Saeed, the leading party of the valley, came together with the leading party of the Jammu region. Do you see that happening at all this time? Is there any possibility, or do you accept that the BJP, even if it becomes the single largest, has to accept what Rajat called at best a moral victory? What you often say the Congress claims. Congress often claims moral victories. Will the BJP claim a moral victory with these numbers in Jammu and Kashmir, or a political victory, Shehzad?
Can I now make one addition to a fact that you need to add?
Yes.
It's a 95-seat assembly.
Yes, that's right. So I still need 40. See, it's a 94-member seat. You have 4 members in addition. I need 48 for a majority, which is why I said.
And therefore,
40,
I think that you can very well see a situation where it will be a BJP chief minister.
how will? Please tell me how.
Everything is not going to be explained to you here on this show.
No, tell me. No. Based on these numbers, I'm asking.
I am optimistic. See, your numbers are a scientific exercise which Yashwant has done, which I respect. I think this is just a starting point. On 8th, these numbers will only add, and there will be a BJP chief minister.
How?
Because we'll get more numbers than what you're showing.
No, I don't know. But even if you get more numbers, you need. Even if you get more numbers,
we'll get more numbers in Kashmir.
You need support from the valley.
I don't think that situation may arise.
Sorry?
I don't think that situation may arise. We will get
But that's
enough
not.
numbers.
You need that.